Hey, 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 happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. This is live stream number 679. Yes, amazingly enough. If this is your first time joining me, welcome aboard. Kick back, relax. This is very, very casual. Spent about half the show talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then the second half of the show, we will look at an aforementioned tabletop game. Tonight, I am going to be paging through, taking a first look at Call of Cthulhu, Petersen's Abominations from Chaosium Inc. So this is what we're going to delve into tonight. I am looking forward to it. It is 5 different Call of Cthulhu adventures. They are modern adventures, all written by Sandy Petersen with some help from, I believe, Mike Mason. That's what it says on the cover of the book. So stay tuned for that. Do want to mention that is a ways off because I've got some news to share. I've got some other things I want to talk about, and then we will jump in. If you are watching this after the fact and there are show notes, then, of course, there's going to be timestamps for you to jump on through. If you don't want to watch the news, you just want to jump into the page through, you'll be able to do that as well. So do want to mention, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as tomorrow's review of Pathfinder, Fists of the Ruby Phoenix, Despair at Danger Island. Yes, I will be sharing my review tomorrow morning. It is done. It is in can. It is even uploaded to YouTube. It's ready to go. So I've got that scheduled for 9 a.m. Central Time for you to check that out tomorrow. It is the first chapter of the newest adventure path, which is only a 3-parter for Pathfinder, and it's actually for characters level 11 to 14, which is the first. That's something different. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, this is a live stream, so that means there's chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, fire away, and I will do my best to respond. Do want to mention, as of today, you must be a subscriber to the channel to take part in chat. So, and you have to have been a subscriber for 48 hours or longer. So just floating that out there. So who do we got in chat tonight? We've got the Motor City Madman. That's right. The Madman is here. He's one of our chat moderators. Our second chat moderator is also with us. Flaming Herons in chat. Nicholas Stanishek is with us, as well as Beat Cafe and Hunter is with us too. Very cool. So welcome aboard, everybody. So a lot going on. I'm going to dive right on into the news because there is a new edition of Captains of the Gulf, which is arriving next month. It's coming from Stronghold Games. Here's the latest. South Louisiana has a long, rich history of delicious Cajun dishes like gumbos and jambalayas. A big part of what makes these meals so great is the seafood in them that is fished from the Gulf of Mexico. The men and women who run the shrimp boats that fish that seafood have to be both hardworking and crafty, finding the optimum strategy to bring in the best catch. They are the captains of the Gulf. Captains of the Gulf is a thematic action selection game full of flavor. Each player operates a fishing boat in the Gulf of Mexico, hoping to make the largest profit over 8 game turns. The players try to upgrade their fishing boats, add crew members, and then move out to fish crabs, oysters, and shrimp, after which they need to deliver them to ports. Cards are multi-purpose. They're added to a player's mat on top, licenses, at the left side, crew, or at the right side, boat upgrades. Moreover, when you fish, you need to play them out of your hand. Captains of the Gulf is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 75 to 120 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $69.99 when it arrives on August 11th. Nice. Good to see Stronghold Games releasing some meatier titles. Now, this is a new edition. This is, I don't believe the original Captains of the Gulf was published by Stronghold because I had never heard of it. So I'm taking a guess it had not been. So this is coming through Stronghold Games because I'm glad to see this because they had kind of gotten into a bit of a, I don't want to say a rut, but they kind of got into this whole, the games that were coming out were like really light dice games. They were very abstract roll and write games. So it is cool to see them release something that's a bit heavier and could possibly play in about 2 hours. So pretty sweet, pretty nice. All right. Speaking of strongholds, following a Kickstarter that was very successful, Stronghold Undead is returning as a standalone title from Portal Games and, you guessed it, Stronghold Games. Here's what I know. The Necromancer leads an undead army toward the Stronghold walls. A powerful artifact lies within the Stronghold, a magical item imbued with immense energy. The Necromancer's powers are weakening and his magical essence is fading with each passing moment. He will regain his powers if he manages to take the castle by storm and claim the artifact. Thus, if the undead army succeeds in breaching the Stronghold within 8 turns, it will capture the artifact and attain victory. If not, the Necromancer's powers will fade completely and the undead army will turn to dust. Stronghold Undead is a rebalancing of the original Stronghold Undead expansion for the second edition of Stronghold that is now a standalone game. It includes a new board with new paths to siege the castle, undead mechanisms, and more ways for both sides to secure their victory. Stronghold Undead is a standalone game that takes mechanisms known from Stronghold and uses them in a new and exciting way to tell a brand new story. In Stronghold Undead, resource management is of utmost strategic importance, and there is no greater resource than time. Each action taken by the Necromancer gives the defender more time to prepare. A powerful undead army poised to overwhelm any and all resistance requires a great expenditure of time and resources, which the besieged army in Pearl Keep can turn into stronger defenses. A weaker force, more rapidly deployed and less costly, may catch the fortress unprepared or may be stopped by defenses a slightly stronger force would have crushed. Walking this line requires finesse and the ability to read your opponent. The invader wins the game if the undead army breaks the walls in 8 rounds or less. One area, one wall segment, one break in the defense is enough to enter the castle and win the battle. On the other hand, the defender wins if they manage to keep the fortress until the end of the 8th round. The sun comes up, and dark forces of the necromancer die at the dawn of a new day. Stronghold Undead is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 minutes. Will carry an MSRP of $34.95 when this arrives on August 11th. I have to admit, I have never played any of these Stronghold titles. Always thought they looked interesting. Always thought these looked like pretty cool 2-player games. And something that I also understand is it is a game that, from what I was told, tends to get better the more you play it. The more you understand it, you'll really, really like the game. Whereas when you first learn how to play it, especially you're playing the person who owns the game, who's probably played it way more than you have, it can be a little tough. So good to see that the fantasy undead version of Stronghold is making a new appearance. All right, Melwinius from York has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Melwinius. Welcome aboard. All right, moving right along. Wise Wizard Games has launched a Kickstarter project to bring the Hero Realms deck building game to digital. Here's the dope. Wise Wizard Games, the makers of wildly popular Star Realms digital deck building game, announced that they've launched Hero Realms Digital, a new digital deck building game that launched on Kickstarter. Wise Wizard Games has raised over $5 million on Kickstarter to date, and the Star Realms digital deck building game has been downloaded over 1 million times. Now gamers can choose their class, battle, gain experience, and level up fantasy-themed characters in Hero Realms Digital on iOS, Android, and Steam. Gamers can also adventure through the story-driven campaigns and play pit fight mode against the AI. Hero Realms has raised over $1 million on Kickstarter, and players have been highly anticipating the release of the Hero Realms digital game. Like the hugely popular Star Realms app, the Hero Realms digital game will provide cross-platform play with full gameplay. Backers will get beta access within weeks of the campaign ending. There is a short Kickstarter video, not as short as most, but it is a short Kickstarter video. It's about 3 minutes. Let's kick back, give it a watch.
CEO of Wise Wizard Games, the creators of the award-winning Star Realms deck building game app. In this Kickstarter, we're bringing our wildly popular Hero Realms deck building game to digital. This awesome app combines the fun of Star Realms deck building with RPG-style leveling and character development. You can play as a cleric, fighter, ranger, thief, or wizard. Each class has different starting health, a unique starting deck, and different skills and abilities. You'll create a character, choose their class, and select their avatar and give them a name. You start out at level 1. As you play games, win or lose, your character gains experience points. Get enough experience and you'll level up. When you level up, you get to choose how you want to improve your character. You might find treasure and get to choose between 2 powerful cards to permanently add to your starting deck. Or you may gain a character point, which can increase your character's starting health or allow you to choose an upgrade from your ability or skill trees. Will you choose to improve your ranger's tracking ability or learn how to fire 2 arrows at the same time? Because of all these choices, your 9th level ranger will end up being very different from the one your friend builds. Hero Realms can be played on iOS, Android, or on your computer with Steam. You can play offline versus the AI, online with friends, or in ranked games with players from around the world. And the best part is, you don't have to wait. The beta is ready right now. Back, and you'll be playing just weeks after this Kickstarter ends. You'll be in the beta, and your help and feedback will make this amazing game even better. We have playthrough videos below, so you can see the game in action. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for your support. Backers like you allow us to make the games we love, and for that, everyone on the Wise Wizard Games team is eternally grateful. Click the green button. Back now.
The Hero Realms digital project is fully funded. In fact, it was 100% funded within, oh, wait a second. What is going on? Went to the wrong, zoinks, wrong news piece there. Anyway, this is fully funded. It was funded within a few hours of launching yesterday. You can reserve a copy of the game for a $25 pledge through July 29th with an expected access to the beta, as I pointed out before, within just a few weeks of the project's end. I have to say, I am a fan of Hero Realms. And in fact, I posted the news piece about the Kickstarter launching yesterday and included a link to my review for Hero Realms. And here's the oddball thing. So Hero Realms and Star Realms are very, very similar games. But I like Hero Realms a whole lot more than I like Star Realms. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's the fantasy theme, but it's just, to me, it's kind of odd where you'll like build these space stations in Star Realms and then they get destroyed and then you build them again and then they get destroyed and you build them again. Whereas to me, when your heroes get defeated in Hero Realms, to me, it's like, well, they got defeated and they had to, had to run away. And now they're back. So I definitely do like Hero Realms, and we'll be looking forward to checking this out. I would hope maybe by the end of the year. So because keeping in mind that the Kickstarter only runs through July 29th. All right, so moving right along. Melwinius from Yalk says that they are glad to see that I'm well again. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We will talk about that just a little bit after the news. So there is a new Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition fantasy setting and adventure campaign that's going to be arriving in November from Wizards of the Coast. Here's the skinny on Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. The School of Magic is in session, rollicking campus adventures for the world's greatest role-playing game. The greatest minds in the multiverse meet at Strixhaven University. Professors convey fantastic secrets to eager students, and life on campus is frenetic. But danger lurks even here. Campus hijinks mixed with mishaps and sinister plots, and it's up to you to save the day. Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, introduces the fantastical setting of Strixhaven University, drawn from the multiverse of Magic the Gathering, and provides rules for creating characters who are students in one of its 5 colleges. Characters can explore the setting over the course of 4 adventures, which can be played together or on their own. Each adventure describes an academic year filled with scholarly pursuits, campus shenanigans, exciting friendships, hidden dangers, and perhaps even romance. This book includes a poster map that shows Strixhaven's campuses on one side and location maps on the other. Through the book's multi-year campaign, players begin as first-year students who study, socialize, and adventure their way to graduation. Experience D&D in new ways through the academic challenges, extracurricular activities and jobs, and relationships explored on campus. It includes 4 adventures that can be played as standalones or woven together to create one campaign, taking players from level 1 to level 10. Players can create characters using a new race presented in the book, an Owlin, one of the owl folk who study at the university. Adds new player character options, including feats and backgrounds, includes new spells and magic items that help your character feel connected to the college they choose to join. Encounter over 40 magical, mysterious creatures and NPCs in the bestiary. Strixhaven can easily be dropped into any D&D world or campaign with the provided rules for adventuring as a student of magic. The hardcover will be available with a standard art cover or an alternate art cover. It does hit stores on November 16th, carrying an MSRP of $49.95. So Nicholas has chimed in with something that I was going to discuss with this. So Mr. Elliptific, I'm taking a guess, says, no more D&D 5e for me. Too much flavor of the day ideology. The mechanism doesn't do it for me anymore. Players' agency heavily reduced to the rules by design. So Omanal's in chat with us, says D&D meets Harry Potter. Flaming Huron also says Magic the Gathering books for D&D, I'm assuming is what he's saying there, are sort of hit and miss. All right. So I don't know. Of course, I'm going to see a review copy of this. But this doesn't seem like this is up my alley either. But what I don't understand is all the hatred for this book that I have seen out there on the internet. I just don't get it. I understand. Okay, this isn't going to be your thing, right? And yes, there is just some weird fascination with schools and proms and things like that in gaming. It has been for the past few years. This is not anything new. But I get it. So here's the thing, right? And I'm not arguing about, oh, yeah, you should really pick up this book. I'm going to review it. And who knows? I might not like it at all. But I'm not going to hate on it. I just wouldn't buy it as a gamer. I just don't understand people. It's just so weird. It's like, and the thing too, to keep in mind is, if you think about it, Dungeons and Dragons has always kind of branched out in different ways. You know, Planescape, right? Dark Sun. And people were like, what? Like Dark Sun was coming out. They're like, what? What is that? So yeah, it's not that different, right? They're taking this book in a different direction. Okay, great. Some people I'm sure will really like it and other people aren't gonna. And that's fine. And like everybody in chat, nobody's sitting there in chat saying, I'm gonna burn Wizards of the Coast to the ground. I'm going out there to Redmond, Washington, and I'm burning that building down. No, everybody seems to have that same attitude that I do. Nobody's making you buy it. So don't buy it. Omanal says, so many different RPGs and 5e settings that I'm happy for games to cater to small subsections of the community. Yeah. Yeah, there's, that's fine. So Nicholas says the same thing. Yeah, I'm just not going to buy the book. So, of course, keep in mind, if things play out the way they normally do, I'll have the alternate art edition of the book and I'll do a giveaway. So there's that. The Flaming Hero says, get the pitchforks out, boys. Yes, and don't forget the torches. All right, my final news piece. The 5th chapter of the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns fantasy campaign for Symborum has arrived in PDF. Here's the deets on Albertor, the Haunted Waste. The aching spine, the knees stiff and tender. For more than 2 decades, old Aldaro had known what was responsible for the pains. Sometimes the heavy drinking of his daughter-in-law, sometimes the greed of his landlord, most often the inevitable decay of his body. But now, was it that the Civil War had called his son into service? Perhaps he would blame it on the still unopposed rumor that Queen Corinthia was missing, or on the nightmares, the reoccurring dream that took him through Davakar, darkness rising like black mist from Moss and Myers, or the other one, the dream from last night. Grandpa, who is the Dark Lord? His bewildered expression made little Esmeralda explain herself. You said it when he slept. The Dark Lord. He had always kept his dreams to himself, never told anyone how they often presaged the future. Maybe it was time to break the silence, to inform someone of what he had seen. The woman with the porcelain mask chasing through dust and decay. The storms and black rains closing in on her path. The horrible shadow rising, waiting for her at the heart of that haunted waste. Alberator welcomes you with open arms and extended claws. In the 5th episode of the Chronicle of the Throne of Thorns, that's kind of a mouthful, you'll find the epic adventure The Haunted Waste, along with support for creating your own adventures in the lost lands of the South and in a war-torn Ambria. The people of the Davakar region are once again threatened by war and famine, and this is before an even deadlier aggressor appears, shaded by the tall trees of the forest edge. This book features the adventure, The Haunted Waste, where the player characters visit the darkened, twisted realm south of the Titans for the most vital and perilous mission to date. Maps and descriptions of Alberator and Lyastra, including a dozen specific persons, locations, and events that the player characters may encounter. Guidelines for traveling through the Lost South, along with tables that can be used to create or randomly design single challenges, as well as smaller adventure landscapes. There's a chapter on the Ambrian Civil War that accounts for its development's important turning points, and that presents hooks for adventures in the battle-scarred land. New tables with curiosities, mystical treasures, and artifacts, and a customized list of mishaps which can affect uninformed and ill-prepared adventurers. Note that this book requires access to the Symborum Core Rulebook, and that it does not come into its own without the Advanced Player's Guide, Game Master's Guide, and the Monster Codex. Symborum Alberator, The Haunted Waste, is available as a 176-page PDF at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Ta-da! So that campaign is moving along. I should mention, I will have my review of the Symborum Game Master's Guide sometime this weekend. It should be up this weekend, probably Sunday is what I am thinking. So nice to see. This is chapter 5 in this campaign. So pretty cool. I like Symborum. I will say there is something I'm going to have a little bit of a beef with when I do my review of the GM's Guide. And somebody had actually commented on one of my other Symborum reviews. I think it was the Player's Guide. And I looked into it, and it turns out. Yeah. Plus, I looked at, I have one of the adventures, and I'm going to ding the review score of it because of that. So, Hunter Perkins. So, Hunter, I believe, has changed to Hunter Perkins. So there we go. All right. So we had Omanal says we're going to make this like paste picante sauce in New York City. And Nicholas says that he thinks that we're on the cusp of some changes that will become 6th edition for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. No alignment, no racial variance and starts, extra feats for everyone, combat not required, etc., etc., etc. That wouldn't shock me. That would not shock me at all. And yes, I would hope everybody does realize, even though they're not talking about it, the folks at Wizards of the Coast are hard at work on a 6th edition. I'm sure they are. So Nicholas says they just finished running a Lamentations of the Flame Princess adventure for their kids, which they loved. Well, there's a few adventures I would hope you weren't running, Nicholas. Thinking it off the top of my head. So Flaming Heron says, yep, good chance 6th edition is coming. So 5th edition's been around about 7 years. So that's, yeah, actually that is about the right length. Although 4th edition wasn't around 7 years. It was less than that. But there were reasons behind that. So Disavowed 92 has arrived in chat. Good to see you. Yes. So Nicholas says, yeah, I'm running kid-friendly adventures for sure. I knew you were. I just, when I saw Lamentations of the Flame Princess, I was like, yeah, gotta mention that. All right. So I was talking about that adventure release and it's available in PDF over at DriveThruRPG. Keep in mind that the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaming gang around. Also should point out, the Christmas and July sale is on at the drive-thru sites. So up to 25% off. And it's usually almost everything. So if there's anything floating around in PDF you're thinking of picking up, this is one of the best sales. We get this sale. We get the Christmas sale. That's pretty good. Game Masters Week, Game Masters Day, basically, which is like a week long. That's usually a pretty good sale too. So Flaming Heron's talking about that some people are hoping 6th edition D&D is more like a combination of 3rd and 5th. So I don't know. I have no idea. But yes, I agree that we are going to see a move away from any kind of like racial traits at the start. Things outside of like infravision, stuff like that. All right. So as I mentioned, I am going to be taking a first look at Call of Cthulhu, Petersen's Abominations, in just a few moments. But there's a few things I did want to talk about first off. So next week, doing shows Monday, Wednesday. I do have my cardiac rehab that's been set up. It's going to start on August 2nd, and it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So I've got it at 2 p.m. So I highly doubt that's going to interfere with doing the shows. So, and I'm fingers crossed that I might do 3 shows a week starting in August. So we'll see how things go. But next week, still just doing 2 shows. So on Monday's show, I'm going to unbox and take a first look at the final expansion for Space Corps, or Corp, however you want to pronounce it. And this is Space Corps Ventures. So this just arrived today. So pretty cool. So Nicholas says, speaking of Lamentations of the Flame Princess, which I actually knew this, today's her 12th birthday, and today only everything LOTFP is 80% off at DriveThruRPG. You know, the weird thing is I got an email about that, but it was only showing the everything bundle, which is usually like $500. And it was like less than 100. And I thought that was the special deal. I didn't realize it's 80% off any of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess stuff. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. So also on Wednesday's show, we are going to unbox and take a first look at, and the funny thing is, picking this up actually puts me over my 5 pounds. That I can lift at the moment. So this is Storm Buff the Reich. I mean, it's not heavy. It's just I'm not supposed to lift anything heavier than 5 pounds. So this is going to be on Wednesday's show. We're going to take a first look at this. So it's going to be a War Game Wednesday. So Flaming Heron says, as someone who doesn't exercise a lot, cardiac rehab was a bit of a rude awakening. I got to be honest, when I did it, I thought it was a waste of time. I found there were more, the men who were there seemed that they were more interested in trying to pick up the nurses. We were like 40 years younger than them than anything else. And it was like, so Omenal says, no Frosthaven first look. I don't have Frosthaven. I have Frost, right? Well, actually, I don't even have Frostgrave. Although I got to say, I've got Oathmark coming from Osprey Games. So that's cool. All right. So that's what's going on. Oh, you mean picking up the weight? Like Gloomhaven? What is Frosthaven heavier than Gloomhaven? Because I took a peek at what Jaws of the Lion, because I had hemmed and hawed about getting it. And that's a heavy damn box. I was like, holy cow. So yes, Flaming Heron points out that Humble Bundle has a 13th Age bundle with 34 books. Yeah, I was going to post that on tomorrow on the website. So because since I don't do a show 4 nights a week, I still try to put some news out there on the days that I do not have a show. So also yesterday was my father's 85th birthday. Thank you for those out there who gave it a nice little thumbs up and the community message. Definitely appreciate that. And we just went to my brother's and had dinner. I will share something else on Monday. Can't discuss it at the moment, but also starting next week, I am going to have another auction. So I am going to run another auction. I'm going to have so many items each week because, for one, there is no Gen Con auction this year, which is a major bummer because that is usually where I get the funds to keep the gaming gang going for the year. So what I am going to do is each week, I'm going to have a certain number of items, maybe 20, that I am going to be doing an auction of. If you follow the gaming gang, you probably know I did this before. I don't know, what was it? I don't think it was like last winter, I think, last fall, something like that. I don't know. With this COVID, it's like, it's all just one big month, one big season. So Omenal points out that, yes, Frosthaven is supposed to be heavier than Gloomhaven. Yikes. Anyway, so gonna do that. So I'm gonna have quite a lot of stuff. So just so you know. But once again, that'll be like Sunday or Monday, and then I'll just have it run for the week. I am gonna have some cool role-playing game stuff where it's gonna be everything that I have from a particular role-playing game. Those will all be together as a bundle. So Flaming Herons has still got RuneQuest. They haven't gotten a physical copy, just a PDF. Yeah, but if I remember, Flaming Herons in Australia. So it's pretty crazy. All right. Also, today I got The Monsters Know What They're Doing. So I ordered this from Amazon. In fact, I ordered a copy for my nephew Cameron, who's going to be running some Dungeons and Dragons. Cameron branded Dungeons and Dragons on Saturday. So for his birthday, which is next month, I already sent an early present. I talked about it before. So I threw this in with it too. And it's normally, I think, like $28, and it was $14 on Amazon right now. So I snagged a copy for me. So just, I don't necessarily run 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but I could always use some ideas for some monster tactics to toss out there. So Nicholas says, that's a good book. So yeah, I've heard that was pretty good. So, hey, Phil Juthman has popped into chat, says that book was a game changer, not just for D&D, but as a way to look at all encounters. Nice. I have listened to part of the audiobook, but I have to admit, and I think the person who narrates it is the author, and they kind of drone on a little bit, so I have a hard time staying awake because I listen to audiobooks at night. And I have a little bit of a hard time staying awake for it. So I thought, okay, so I'll just get the book. All right, so I've got one last thing, then we'll jump into Petersen's Abominations. So I got to point out, if you have small children in the room or you watching this after the fact and you've got kids hanging around and you don't want them to hear the F-bomb a few times, then you may want to escort them out. All right, ready? Okay. So when I screw up, I admit that I've screwed up. So earlier today, I fucked up. If you watched Monday's show, you will probably remember that I had mentioned that Andrew Hackard from Steve Jackson Games had passed away over the weekend. And, you know, I pointed out, hey, you know, he was a pretty nice guy. I interviewed him a few times. I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, so I had been kind of looking to see. I didn't see anything from Steve Jackson Games about it. I was like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, he worked for Steve Jackson Games. He worked for him for years. And he was like in charge of Munchkin. I don't think he was a line editor or whatever, but he was in charge of it, right? So anyway, I'm like, what the hell? So I was taking a peek at the Steve Jackson Games website. This was this morning. And I'm looking and there's nothing. They've got the Daily Illuminator and stuff. Nothing. I'm like, did they maybe have a news piece about it on the Munchkin website? So I go to the Munchkin website and I'm looking, nothing. So I'm on Twitter and I'm taking a look and I'm looking at the feed from Steve Jackson Games for like the past week. Nothing. And I was like, what the fuck? I had pointed out before, and I'm not going to get into a whole big thing, but I had pointed out before that Steve Jackson Games had treated Elliot and I very, very poorly for a few years when Elliot was part of the gaming gang and we were going to like Origins and Gen Con. I'm not going to get into a big deal about it, but that's one of the reasons why I dislike them. And if you follow the gaming gang, I've talked about that love-hate relationship with Steve Jackson Games. So anyway, so I'm like, what the fuck? What kind of company doesn't even mention that somebody who worked for him, who was in charge of one of their big selling lines, doesn't even say anything? So stupid me got riled up. Now, why? I don't even know why. I don't even know. I mean, I didn't really know Andrew, and I don't cover Steve Jackson Games, but it was just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm looking at things a little bit differently since the triple bypass. I don't know, but it pissed me off. So, of course, I go on Twitter and say, man, I can't believe Steve Jackson Games didn't even have the decency to say something about the passing of Andrew Hackard. And man, talk about no class. So it turns out Andrew Hackard did not pass away July 17th. He passed away June 17th. And somebody had sent me a link to an obituary website and said, hey, in the email they sent me with the link, they said, hey, I know you interviewed Mr. Hackard a few times. Did you know he passed away this weekend? I clicked on the link and I looked and it said July 17th. And I even went back to that link today, and it says July 17th. So it turns out that, of course, Steve Jackson Games had written a big thing about Andrew Hackard passing away a month ago. So, of course, the guy from Dyson's Logos had messaged me and said, hey, they did write an article, and it was on the Daily Illuminator on the 19th. And he shot me a link, and I clicked on the link, and I saw it. And I was like, where the hell did that come from? Now, keep in mind, I didn't know at this point that I had the month wrong, because I had just read the one article, and that's what I read. I'm thinking it's an obituary website. They know what they're talking about. So I go and I'm looking on the Steve Jackson Games website at the Daily Illuminator for the 19th of this month, and I'm like, where the hell is it? How did I get this link? And I don't see it. And that's when I learned that it was last month. I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, when you said that in your tweet, I couldn't find the actual tweet saying it. Yeah. So what I did is I took down the original tweet and immediately put up an apology. A few tweets that were apologies. And the person who's behind the Steve Jackson Games Twitter feed went ballistic. And I could understand that. You know, I wasn't trying to hurt somebody's feelings. I was sitting there like, what kind of fucking company would do something like that? And I got to be honest, in my head thinking, you know what? They were such assholes to us. They must be complete fucking assholes. So, of course, the person from Steve Jackson Games, which just kept going on and on and on, and they're like, "Oh, you're just using the death of our friend for a weak attack on our company and blah blah blah." And I was like, I gotta be honest, I don't need anybody to pass away to attack Steve Jackson Games. If I wanted to attack Steve Jackson Games, I could go into all the detail about 4 years of getting the runaround from them and being treated like a complete asshole, and worse for Elliot. But I'm not. It's like, whatever. That's why I don't cover the company. So Homanal says, at least you apologize. Yeah, as soon as I found out, I was like, oh my God. And I pointed out, I said, hey, you know what? I was completely ignorant. I'm an idiot. But yeah, Steve Jackson Games was having none of that. So I finally just blocked them. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here all day and have somebody, going on and on and on. So yeah. So like I said, when I fuck up, I tell you, hey, you know what? I fucked up. I feel like an idiot. I feel bad. I mean, I don't feel like bad for Steve Jackson Games. I feel bad for the people who worked with him and who were friends in that. So with Andrew. So I don't know. So yeah, Flaming Heron says, yeah, Steve Jackson Games has no love for you. Yikes. Whatever. I have lost, I think, like 40 Twitter followers or something like that. I don't know. Someone else says, to be fair, you had a heart attack. Well, no, it was a cardiac event. It was not really considered to be a heart attack. But that led to, this. It's just the way I looked at it. Like I said, I thought, man, what kind of fucking company wouldn't even have the decency? Because I'm thinking this was this past weekend, not over a month ago. So anyway, all right. So Flaming Heron says, Artel, sorry, I'm not giving you reviews anymore either. I really don't reach out to them for stuff. They liked the reviews that I did, although I really didn't care for The Witcher. I didn't think it was all that good. That was just me. But I liked the Castle Falkenstein stuff that I reviewed that. I thought their Cyberpunk starter set was really nice. So I don't touch base with a lot of these companies. I don't feel right banging on them saying, yeah, hey, like send me stuff. So 245 Trioxin has joined us, that just followed you on Twitter while I was over there looking at the tweets. I'm not telling you that so you can follow me on Twitter. I'm just telling you that I screwed up. I screwed up, and I was raging like, stupid, like an idiot. All right. Anyway, can't take it back. So Mel, when he says, yeah, today I apologize, does not mean I was wrong and I am sorry, but it's an admission of guilt to kick and kick and kick. To be honest, I've apologized. That's it. I'm not worried. I mean, people want to tweet at me and stuff like that. I do not care. I made a mistake. I owned up to it. And that's it. So I figured I would just share that with everybody. So, I didn't have to talk about it tonight. But I thought, hey, you know what? Like I said, when I fuck up, I tell you, I fucked up. All right. So without further ado, let's get back to doing some gaming. Tonight, I am going to be taking a first look at Call of Cthulhu, Petersen's Abominations from Chaosium Inc. It is written by Sandy Petersen and Mike Mason. Artwork is provided by Lee Simpson, M. Wayne Miller, Evgeny Meleshenkov, Gregors Petersen. I don't know. I'm probably way off. And Victor Leza. This 200-page hardcover is available for $39.95, or you can snag the PDF at DriveThruRPG for $19.95. Flaming Heron's like, okay, kids, you can come back in. Yeah, as we're showing like scary stuff. Right, exactly. Flaming Heron's like, oh, or maybe not. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Petersen's Abominations. 5 epic tales of modern horror, as someone else says, right before bed. Let's take a look at the back. It says, gathered from across the eons, this anthology of horror brings together for the first time a series of scenarios from the mind of Sandy Petersen, the creator of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Well, with Lynn Willis in my book, but each one-shot scenario is designed for one or more sessions of play. Within, you will find the following tales of mystery and horror. Panacea. Behind a miraculous cure for many ills hides a loathsome truth. Hotel Hell. An inheritance conceals a hideous secret that may spell the end of the world. Mohole. An experimental drilling project delves too deep and brings the attention of an ancient, unspeakable horror. The Derelict. A final journey brings a remarkable discovery and a hidden terror. Wasn't the Derelict a free RPG Day adventure? I could have sworn. Voice on the Phone. A tale of two brothers set in the violent world of gang culture. Advice for getting the most out of the scenarios is provided, as well as suggestions for expanding the scope of the adventures. Each scenario comes with a set of ready-to-play pre-generated investigators. Get ready to enter the mind of the creator of Call of Cthulhu and enjoy the nightmare. You must have a copy of the Call of Cthulhu Keeper Rulebook, 7th edition, to fully enjoy these scenarios. Now, that's a little bit different, because a lot of times we'll see where it says, well, you have to have the quick start. But here, this is saying you need the Keeper's Guide. All right, let's jump on in. So Hunter mentions that a friend of theirs is in the hospital for COVID, but I make their day. Well, hopefully you kind of keep your mind off it a little bit. And I certainly do send along positive vibes for your friend. Hopefully they get out of the hospital ASAP, because hanging out in the hospital is not a good time. Even if you're not on a like respirator or ventilator or anything like that. All right, so we got an introduction from Sandy Petersen and Mike Mason as well. Jumping on in. Hotel Hell. An inheritance conceals a hideous secret that may spell the end of the world. Do want to mention, if anybody who's watching is hoping that their keeper is going to run any of the adventures that are in this, then I would definitely recommend tuning on out. There's over 1,000 other videos on the Gaming Gang channel. You can feel free to go, maybe go check one out. So, all right. So it's just us. Let's jump on in here. I'm going to kind of quickly zip on through. So it looks like there was some discussion of the gates of hell. So where are they heading here? Where do they end up? Looks like they're what, Tibet? I don't know. There's the hotel. 7 Stars Hotel welcomes you. Then we get a bit of a spread here. Aren't these Spawn of Cthulhu, I think? All right, Nicholas says they got a jet. They'll come back to check out the rest in the morning. Got to point out, Nicholas, this is not a review. This is just a page through. We're just taking a peek, and I will have a review of this in the near future. All right, so this looks like this is a pretty, as soon as I see ending the scenario, I was going to say this looks pretty in depth. 30 pages, and then we're going to get into we got these look like pre-gens here. Here we go. Here's the derelict. The final journey brings a remarkable discovery and a hidden terror. So yes, this is set in the waters of the North Atlantic. So 245 Triaxis says, wait, you mean other people can be the keeper and I don't always have to do it? Yeah, me. But then again, I never have an opportunity to play. I was busting my best friend Elliot's chops one day because he was running some D&D for his daughter and her friends. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like, can't run anything for me who's been running stuff for decades. But you'll jump in and run stuff for your daughter. Yeah, okay. All right. Moving right along. So I think this story here, right? So this cargo liner, I think it encounters some creature, or they somehow accidentally unearthed this creature from the ice. So this is kind of along the lines of John Carpenter's The Thing, where it's the player characters versus this monster, which I don't believe takes over like identities and stuff, but still. All right. One thing I do want to mention, I have heard from some folks recently, and they've been complaining that Call of Cthulhu, their adventures are the worst presented adventures as a keeper to try to run. And you know what? I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I don't feel that way because I've been running Call of Cthulhu adventures for so many years. But I gotta be honest, I don't find them to be all that difficult to run. But then again, I always have I shouldn't say always. I usually have a pretty good idea of about how far we're going to get in a game session. So I usually kind of plot, I don't necessarily plot, I kind of plan for that and go a little bit beyond. So that's usually how I do it. I swear to God, I thought that said Ted Danson. Hey, Ted Danson's in this. This adventure takes place in Cheers or The Good Place. All right. Zipping on through. Cool. And once again, like I said, we're just doing a page through. I had not cracked open this book. This is the first time I've looked at this book. I just happened to recall that I thought that that the Derelict was a free RPG day adventure. I might be wrong, but I think it was. So anyway, Nicholas had to rock, so glad to see he popped in. Flaming Huron says, with pre-generated adventures, really no excuse if you can follow the rules to not run some games. So Flaming Huron says, nah, I really like how they're usually laid out. Probably takes a bit of effort, but that pretty much is true of a lot of games. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Some of the modern fantasy role-playing games, I'm not naming any names. You take a look at some of their adventures and you're like, how in the world is somebody going to run this? And it's like, oh, look, this whole page is read aloud. You're like, what? So this is the panacea. This is where it's I think it's some cure for a disease, but it's actually got some sort of really terrible aspect to it. All right, cool. We got a little bookmark here. I noticed Chaosium's been doing that more. All right, here we got our pre-gens. I've got a good amount of Chaosium stuff for us to be taking a look at. I've got Berlin, the Berlin source book, so we're going to take a peek at that. I've got some Cubicle 7 entertainment stuff on its way, so I'm glad to be able to take a peek at that. I want to say I think it's a couple of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay releases and one Age of Sigmar release, so they're supposed to be on their way. Flaming Heron says, ha, I ran Power Behind the Throne in the past, and when any game requires to keep a timeline for events, yeah, especially if you were looking at having to do a timeline for the entire campaign, that I would think would be a pain. So this is Mohole. This is where we've got a drilling team unearth something. Oh, yes. It's the thing on the Forble board. If you have never heard the thing on the Forble board, it, in my opinion, is the scariest old-time radio show ever. You can go to thegaminggang.com, and I actually have a cleaned-up version of it because I used to upload scary old-time radio shows for Halloween, and that is one of my favorites. So, of course, this is a modern oil rig out in the ocean. All right, so it looks like we got a chat disconnect again. But it looks like the stream is just moving along okay, so I am not going to concern myself about that. Just kind of keep zipping along. I have met Sandy Petersen and sat and talked with Sandy at Gen Con. Talked to him for about 20 minutes. And he was a lot of fun to chat with. And it was kind of funny because it was like at the Petersen Games booth or something like that. And it was Elliot and I think it was my brother was with too. And we were talking to somebody, and Sandy came up and was like, oh, yeah, okay, so you guys are game media? And I said, yeah. I said, dude, we've been at it for like, at that time, like 8-9 years. I was like, really? He's like, let me see a card. You got a business card? It was like, most of you guys don't have business cards. I'm like, yeah, I got a business here. I was like, oh, hey, I've heard of you guys. And he sat down and we were chatting for a bit. So it's kind of funny. He was really tied into, it wasn't Cthulhu Wars. It was something else they were getting ready to kickstart that had miniatures and that. There was like another game that they did with minis. So yeah, he was super nice. He was pretty funny too. All right, voice on the phone. I enjoy reviewing Call of Cthulhu adventures. I tend to find them to be pretty interesting for the most part. Now, there are some that are lousy. You know, let's be honest. In fact, I just did a Call of Cthulhu review of a book that I didn't care too much for. I thought it was all right. That's what the best I could say. I thought it was all right. All right. But as you can see, these adventures, these aren't just, 4 pages. There's a lot going on in these. And as it pointed out on the back cover, that these are multi-session adventures already as well. So Hunter says they only started running games about 3 years ago. Nice. Glad to have you on board. These are all the handouts, which we have actually seen as we paged through. There's our index. We're going to get an ad. Oh, no, we get our biographies. So there's Sandy and there's Mike Mason. I was supposed to interview Mike Mason. Mike Mason lives in England. And I was supposed to do an interview with him through Skype. And he was having an issue with, off the top of my head, I think it's the NDI setting, which somebody with Skype has to go in and they have to accept the NDI setting so that the program I use for the stream and to record stuff can pick up that feed, and he couldn't get it to work. So I couldn't get his video. I could hear him, but I couldn't pull his video. All right, so that is Call of Cthulhu, Petersen's Abominations from Chaosium Inc. I will have a review of this in the very near future. Wow, that was a pretty quick page through. Kind of zipped through that. All right, so there was one last thing I was going to talk a little bit about, and then I'll wrap up. I know I'm only doing 2 shows a week, so I kind of feel like the shows should be at least an hour or more. I am honestly considering pulling back a bit on the board game aspects of the hobby and focusing more on the role-playing game aspects of the hobby for a few different reasons. And don't get me wrong, I love board games. I have been playing board games and card games since the late 70s. Then I was a little kid. So it's not that I don't really enjoy that aspect of the hobby. It's that there are just so many people out there covering it. And as I said before, I don't like to have to sit there like banging on people's doors saying, hey, can I review this? Hey, can I review this? Hey, can I review this? I don't like having to do that. And it seems as if a lot of the folks who are, some of the bigger companies in role playing really like my coverage, really like, and granted, I ramble on a lot in video reviews, but they like it. So I'm not saying that I'm going to stop covering board games. Like there's a lot of companies that I like covering their board games. So, if they send me stuff, great. I'm going to cover it. But I'm not going to go crazy about it. The other thing, too, is with COVID, it has been very difficult for me to get people together to play games so that I can review them. And we see the Delta variant is picking up steam. So fingers crossed it doesn't get like to the point where it's like, well, we're not going to have a Gen Con this year, because I'll be like, I am so looking forward to Gen Con. So anyway, so I am kind of thinking, kind of cut back on the board gaming stuff. Now I'll still do news. I'll still do the news and stuff like that. It's just, I'm probably going to kind of ease back on reviewing, but I'll still review and still cover like GMT and Worthington and Tiny Battle Publishing and Flying Pig Games. Those are, those are my main like war gaming, strategy gaming companies that I cover. But Czech Games Edition, Board and Dice, Stronghold, if they happen to send me stuff, but they're super, super hit or miss. And they tend to send me stuff that just is not for my audience. you know, they send me the little dice games that are the, abstract roll and write, which does not, it's just not my audience. You guys know that. So Flaming Heron says, "Will I still do news on games even if I don't do reviews?" Sure. Yeah. That's what, yeah. Like I said, I'll still do the news. It's just, I don't know. This might just be for like the near future, not necessarily like, oh, for all time. But even I have seen that there are companies out there that are not sending a lot of stuff out. And there's issues with, overseas shipments and stuff like that. So there are game companies that are awaiting stuff. Just it's been very quiet as far as board game stuff showing up. Now, like I mentioned, I got those releases from GMT. In fact, I also got the Dark Summer, which is the Normandy game from, isn't this Ted Racier? Yes, it is. It's like the third volume, I think, in his World War II series, the Dark series, I think they're calling it. So this was like the first like board game package to show up in like a couple of weeks. So like I said, I don't know. But it's so much easier for me to review role-playing game stuff too. And I love role-playing games. Role-playing games is my main love as far as tabletop gaming. So I'm just floating that out there, folks. I don't want anybody to be like, "Oh, Jeff's not going to be covering board games anymore." Not what I'm saying. I'm saying we might see me veer towards role-playing games heavier for the near future. So, all right. Someone else says, "Do whatever's healthy for you." Oh yeah. I'm not doing anything that's going to like, jeopardize my health, like be awfully stressful or anything like that. So, all right. Like I said, it's just very difficult to do a bunch of reviews. Like for an example, when I talked about this, 2 weeks ago, I went over to Elliot's house. His son was in town, and the three of us got to sit down. We got to play 2 games. That was it. That's all we got to do. We got to play 2 games. So of course, I got to sit there and try to do, reviews based on those gameplays. Because normally, if it's a board game or card game, I play it 3 times before I do a review, and it's gotten damn near impossible for me to do that. So Flaming Heron says some of those heavy boxes are going to do me in one of these days. That's right. I'm going to get a delivery and it'll be like, "Oh my gosh, it's Frosthaven." And I'll try to pick it up. And be like, "Oh," as Omanal says, "Death by Frosthaven," or Nemesis. All right, everybody. That is it for tonight's show. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it's not only going to let you know when the dispatch streams live here on YouTube, it also lets you know when I upload other videos, such as tomorrow's review of Pathfinder Fists of the Ruby Phoenix, Despair on Danger Island. Every time I say Danger Island, I just want to go, "Uh-oh, Chungo, it's Danger Island." Anyway, check that out tomorrow morning. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Omanal says it was a bit more fun tonight. Yeah, because I was dropping those F-bombs. That's what did it. So, all right, everybody, enjoy the weekend. I will be back on Monday, as I mentioned before. I put it down here. And it fell over. On Monday's show, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Space Corp Ventures from GMT Games, the final expansion to Space Corp. Anyway, as I was saying, Hope everybody has a great weekend. Those of you who are hanging out watching live, thank you very much. I always appreciate you keeping me company so I don't feel like a complete doofus just babbling on. Then again, I know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch the stream live. No matter when you're watching, even if you're watching on Memorex, thank you so very, very much. And of course, until I see you next week, here's hoping all of you have an opportunity to enjoy some really great gaming with your own gang. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel? Or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch? Or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel? And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.